This is True Multifamily, the show where we dive in on what really happens after closing a multifamily property. We're going to expose the role of asset manager. That's a person who has the responsibility of seeing the vision, executing the plan, and managing people, budgets, and timelines, all to deliver returns for our investors. These are the real struggles, the real victories, and the real stories of asset management. Welcome back to another episode of True Multifamily. I am here with Savannah Arroyo. Savannah, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Hi, thank you. I'm grateful to be here.
I am grateful to have you here. Let's jump right in. Savannah, we just connected on Instagram recently. I know that you are very active on Instagram and learning some other platforms, but tell us, before we forget, tell us what is your brand, and then let's get into your story and how you got there a little bit.
Yeah, so I am the Networth Nurse. I am obviously a full-time registered nurse by day. I graduated up from Sacramento State with nursing, worked in a couple of different specialties, went back and got my master's degree in leadership and administration, moved down to Los Angeles, and right now I'm overseeing multiple departments at a hospital down here in LA.
Okay.
Got into multifamily the beginning of the year, signed up for a coaching program just to really get the support on that, and just did our first deal.
So you just did your first deal. Congratulations. You said you closed how long ago?
Like 3 weeks.
3 weeks. That's great. I love it because it's fresh and raw and new. So we're going to be able to get all that raw information out of you. So
yes,
fantastic. So let backtrack real quick. So you're a nurse in LA.
Yep.
And you said just this year you learned about multifamily investing. Is that right?
Yeah. So my husband and I, we started investing in single family homes, and I am a podcast binger. I read a lot of books, started digging into real estate. And the biggest thing I heard people was saying was that they wanted to scale faster with multifamily. That was like their biggest regret. So I'm like, well, I'm going to take that food for thought and just get started in multifamily right now. So
why
jumped
wait,
right in.
Okay.
Yep.
So you did have some single families or at least
Yes.
one? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was all this year?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Wow. Look at you. I love it. Great. So how does someone go from saying, I want to do that, I hear about it on all these podcasts, to actually going and closing on a property? There's a big gap there. So fill us in on some of the space there.
So for us, it was definitely, where are we going to get the money to do this? So we started, like I said, listening to podcasts, talking to people, and we learned that there's a lot of different ways to tap into capital. So the first thing we did was we worked with an amazing lender to refinance our home at the beginning of the year. And he was like, hey, do you know you have over $100,000 worth of equity in this house? And we were like, nice. What's that? What can you do with that? And he's like, you can pull it out. You can do this, that, and the other with it. You can buy investment homes. And we were like, wait, what? You can do that? So took it out at a pretty low rate, used it as a down payment on a couple of homes over in Georgia. So started with that. Then everything that's going on with the COVID, there's a lot of opportunity to tap into your 401k through the CARES Act. So my husband and I both took advantage of that, took some of our retirement to start investing in multifamily.
Wow. So much to unpack there real quick. So from 100K in equity in your house, and then you decide not California, which I guess makes sense because the price is right. But how and why Georgia?
So Georgia, again, we just started doing tons of research. There's hot markets. I mean, even if you hop on Facebook and start exploring real estate, you hear people investing in Texas. It's huge right now. Arizona, Georgia's pretty big. The Carolinas. We personally have friends over in Georgia. The film industry is near to our heart here in LA, and it's taking off in Georgia. Mm-hmm. So that was a big reason for us. And the price to entry is a lot lower than LA. So
right. What is it, tough in LA to buy rental property? Come on.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's great. So you started thinking about money as your biggest obstacle.
Yeah.
What about the educational piece?
Yeah, that too. I mean, so podcasts were huge. I was listening to that every day to work, home from work. I was on maternity leave at the beginning of the year. So every park walk, I was listening to hours of podcasts. Jumped onto Amazon, got some books, got audiobooks. Anytime my husband and I went on a road trip, we were listening to 4 hours of an audiobook. There's so many resources to just kind of educate yourself. YouTube videos, that's huge. We call it
Yep.
YouTube University. You can just really educate yourself on anything
Yeah.
out there, and real estate was for us. So
That's great. Sounds like you fell hard for it, right?
yeah, obsessed.
Yeah, I hear that. The walks and all that. You're speaking my language, both. I know we both have young kids, and so it's like, what are we going to do to pass this time? Let's listen to some real estate, right?
Yeah.
So if we could sidebar real quick, things are not busy in the hospital these days. I mean, what's going on with that?
Yeah.
I mean, is your day job like super demanding? I mean, what
Yeah.
give a little
It
bit of color
has,
on that if you can.
man, healthcare this year has just, it's even surprised me at being in it years. So especially as an administrator, I'm in the leadership team. So back in March, it was daily changes for my staff. We were getting laid different policies and procedures literally on a day-to-day basis of different workflows that we were going to implement in the hospital. Even now with the talk of the vaccine coming out, it's daily changes and staffing. And yeah, it's pretty overwhelming, but it's like really become the constant is change. And I work with amazing people who it's just been, we're just taking it as it comes, and we have a strong leadership team, so we just kind of, yeah, where change is a constant there. But I've used that to kind of navigate throughout real estate because it's a lot of moving pieces in real estate too. So I've really leaned on my foundation in nursing and my experience with administration there to help me and grow in real estate. It's been very foundational.
That's great. Okay, so it's not something that's taking 100 hours a week. You're still able to keep some relatively normal hours and have some time to
Yes.
focus on real estate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't Netflix binge half as much as I used to. I mean, after we put the kids to bed, my husband and I are up looking at properties, underwriting deals, getting involved on social media. So it's definitely, we're put a lot of hours in it, but we just sacrifice other things.
Yeah, well, you have prioritized what's important,
Right.
and
Exactly.
you've adjusted, and it's very tough, and I can say that because I'm right there with you with the two young kids, and
Yeah.
to prioritize family time, and then you're married, so you have a relationship there, and
Yeah.
you got your job, and then now you
Yeah.
want to go on this grand adventure and go buy some multifamily property, but
Yeah.
there's legal, and there's money, and there's
Mhm.
returns for investors, and all these things that's like, oh, man, there's so many pieces to put together.
Yeah.
So so then tell me, you have all this going on in an unprecedented time, in our country with this pandemic, and you're super busy and I'm sure distracted with work. So talk me through the process of getting that first multifamily deal.
Yeah. So we were just looking in Georgia just because we had our single family homes over there. We were looking heavily over there. Also North Carolina. And then on the West Coast, we were looking at Arizona, New Mexico, Reno, and then Oregon. My parents live there. So we were just kind of looking like, hey, what is it even like there? Just because we were more curious than anything. And we reached out to a couple different brokers, created a great relationship with the one that was working with us up there. And he saw a off-market deal, looked strong value add, which was what we were looking for. Rents were 18% below market, and there was an opportunity to turn a storage unit into a extra studio. So that just skyrockets the NOI. And after doing the underwriting, working the numbers, it worked, and we put an offer in.
That's great. So the value you see there, 18%, you said under market rent.
Yeah.
And a storage unit that could be converted to actual rentable square.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And tell me about the whole process of going through your first syndication. I mean, was it easy breezy or any roadblocks going through the process of raising money? Talk us through that.
Yeah. So we raised from friends and family for this deal. We were just kind of let people know what we were doing. People knew that we were getting active into real estate, and people kind of wanted to hop on board with us. So We raised from friends and family for this first deal, 250K raise. We invested in the deal ourselves, got it through a local credit union in the area, 25% down, 3.8 interest rate, which is pretty good terms. And the syndication part was a little difficult, just in terms of raising money. You really got to know what you're talking about. You gotta understand the deal inside, outside, up, down, because your investors will have questions. So that was a curve for us. It was our first time syndicating. So we spent a lot of time with our investors, a lot of time explaining what we saw on the property, where the numbers were, what returns they were going to get. But overall, it was great.
How many investors did you have to bring on?
So four.
Okay.
Four.
Okay. So each one around 50 to 75 or so.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. The first one is the hardest, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and having those conversations and just tell us about, if you don't, it's something that a lot of times comes up with capital raising. The first deal is like, you get caught up in, maybe I don't know the answer. So talk us through, like, someone's going to ask you some good questions. Talk us through that process of raising it, still trying to instill some confidence, but maybe not having all the answers that they want you to have.
Yeah. So, I mean, you really have to do your homework, and you're not going to get all the information from the OM and the broker. It's a constant communication with your lender and talking about what kind of terms you're going to be getting, and talking to your property manager of like, hey, this rent is way below market. What realistically are we going to be able to raise it every year? Like, what, talking to a contractor and being like, okay, well, how much is it going to cost to turn the studio or the storage unit into a studio? It's a lot of moving pieces, and it's constant communication on our end initially to do that digging. But we needed all that information for our underwriting to begin with. So, and then the same questions we had for those people were usually the same questions that our investors had, so when
Right.
we did our homework, it made those questions easier to answer.
Right. Okay, great. And so let's talk about the money piece a little bit, because you said 25% down, 3.8, fantastic, great rate.
Yeah.
Where is are the renovation funds coming from?
So we did that in our initial raise. We put that
Okay.
into our underwriting. It was cash to close. So we incorporated that into the cash that we needed
So
to
you
close
came
the
in
property
with the
underwriting.
cash. Okay. So you raised your down payment, and then you raised the construction on top
Yeah.
of any other fees. Okay. Got it.
Yes.
And so who's managing that? Because as you said, you're in Southern California, this property's in Oregon. What's that process like?
Yeah. So I have heard, and I mean, for obvious reason, the property manager is such a huge, important piece, because they're the ones that are really implementing the business plan on a day-to-day basis. So we vetted out a couple different property managers in the area. It's a small little coastal town. So there were a couple people who our property manager there was born and raised there. She's been doing it 20 plus years. She knew when I called her to interview her, she knew exactly the building, how many 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1-bedroom, 1-bath. She knew the building in and out. She knew everything about it. So that was helpful. Also, she just was she knew what she was talking about. She knew what we would be able to raise market rent. She managed multiple other properties in the area. So she had comparisons, firsthand knowledge. She had overseen a lot of different construction projects. So with what we plan to do with the property, she was the perfect person.
Got it. Okay, great. And so how many property managers did you say you spoke to?
3.
3. Okay.
Yeah.
And market knowledge and knowledge of this property is really what set her apart.
Yeah, and personality, because especially this person, we're going to be talking to them on a weekly basis for the first few months while we're really trying to renovate that unit and figure out our business plan and make sure it's on track. So you want to make sure your personalities mesh and your communication styles mesh, and you're just kind of on the same page with that respect, because we're going to be with her for our exit strategies 3 years. So we're going to be working with her very closely for 3 years. So we just wanted to make sure it was a good fit.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, in my experience, our first episode of this show was all about how I fired a property manager that just was not working.
Ouch.
And
Yeah.
actually in 2018, we fired property managers on every asset that we had and started fresh, because things were not working.
Yeah.
And once you have a great property manager that is your partner and you're trusting, a great trusted team member, then you realize how bad you and how much crap you've been putting up with, frankly,
Yeah. In
from
hindsight.
others. Exactly. And once that like opens your eyes, then wow,
Yeah.
it's a whole new world to have a solid property manager who's going to get things done. Now, is
Yeah.
this property manager handling the construction and renovation?
So she's overseeing it. Yeah, I had vetted out a contractor to begin with. Like I said, my parents were up there. My dad's kind of in the construction, so he knew someone. But he had worked closely with. So we had him go out to the property. He looked at it during our due diligence phase, walked every unit with the property manager. He was able to give us really accurate numbers on what it would take to renovate that unit, and then just kind of some upkeep items that needed to be done around the property as well, so that we could make sure our underwriting was exact.
Right. Now, are you renovating all the units or they're mostly in good shape?
Most of them are in good shape. There's a couple items that are a little bit run down. Nothing huge, no major capital expenditures, just kind of some cosmetic items in one of the units, maybe some countertops, the flooring in another unit, paint maybe in another unit, really minimal things that we could do as tenants turn over.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. And is it fully occupied?
Yes. Yep. It's a very, very
Love it.
strong rental market up there. We were underwriting 7% vacancy, but more realistic for that area is like 4%. It's when a tenant moves out, there's a wait list. Someone's in the next week.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
great. And has, through the seller or through your ownership, have you guys had any challenges with tenants paying on time or any COVID related issues?
So no, since the beginning of the year, there's been no delinquencies on this. So I
Love
mean,
it. That's great.
yeah, it is. And I mean, that's one of the first questions from our investors for obvious reason is like, well, wait, what do you mean? People aren't paying rent out there. It's COVID. Like no one's getting, you can't evict people. So people aren't paying rent. But that's just kind of, I think, mainstream media pushing that out there, that fear with people. But with this building, it definitely hasn't happened. And even our property manager said for all the other properties she's managing, she hasn't seen that. So I know it's
Okay.
happening in some places, but in this market it's not.
Okay. Makes sense. And so would you say it's like what A, B, C market? What would you say?
Probably C plus, B
Okay.
minus.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. That's really great. We've had mixed results across our properties, but there's only so much you can do. So hey, take that and run with it. If you've
Yeah.
got all paying tenants and 100% occupancy, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So are you where are you in the build out from the storage unit to you said it's gonna be a studio or a one bedroom?
A studio.
Okay.
Yeah. So we just got it officially 3 weeks ago. So our contractor's just getting in and starting renovation on that. Our property manager just this last weekend already served the tenants with the rent increase, the 90-day notice to rent increase. And she said she had no objections, which is great. So we plan to start getting that going as well. So then our value add.
I think you just titled our episode. She had no no objections to an 18% rent increase. I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm
I
jealous. I
know.
love it. That's awesome. Okay, so sounds like things are just swimming right along. So tell me something. You got to give me something, a surprise,
Yeah.
something that did not go as well as you might have hoped. Just even could be just a first time syndicator sort of surprise or lesson learned. Something you would do differently next time around.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a little secret. So this is something that I stole from someone else on a podcast who he said with all his offers, he always submitted a personalized letter. And I've heard mixed things. Some people are like, that's ridiculous. If I was a agent and I saw that, I'd throw it away immediately. Other people were all about it. So my husband and I, when we put the offer in on this, we made a personalized letter. We put a picture of us and our two young daughters. We were like, hey, we're getting started in apartment multifamily investing. We're buying this property. We want to create generational wealth, freedom with our family, that sort of thing. And it was really nice and personalized, submitted it to him. And he actually received a offer that was higher than ours and went with us because we submitted the letter, and he made sure to tell the broker to tell us that. So,
Wow, that's
yeah.
awesome. I had heard that tip a long time ago, maybe through Bigger Pockets or something on like a smaller, never on apartment complex. So good for you. And the fact that it worked and you got that feedback is awesome.
Yeah. Yep. Little secret.
Very good. Very good. So what's next now? You've gone through this big win. You've got everything in motion. What's the plan moving forward?
Yeah, so we're really just starting to grow our network. I'm branding the Networth Nurse, just kind of push that out. Really hoping to connect with other investors who are wanting to get into real estate. I'm really active and involved on social media, like you said, but also in different networking groups that happen regularly throughout the week. Different Zoom calls, LA based ones, but also general ones through other programs. So staying really active on that. We're underwriting deals. We're still looking in the markets that I mentioned before, Georgia, still Oregon, New Mexico. So yeah, plans to keep buying more.
That's great. I love it. I love it. Well, you have to leave us before we go with your True Multifamily tip, which is just a piece of advice, which you've already given us so much, but you jumped ahead before I asked. So I'm not going to count your letter that because that was a great one. But give us your True Multifamily tip as a piece of advice, a new apartment, someone that wants to get into apartments. Maybe they're where you were a year ago, where just starting to think about it. So what sort of advice or what's your True Multifamily tip for them?
All right. I'm going to say your network is your net worth, and mainly because I'm the Networth Nurse, but I'm saying this because as I've gotten into real estate, there are so many people out here doing this who want to collaborate and they want to share what they've learned. And so many people who I've connected with are wanting to get together and offer their support and their help with things. And it's really just such an amazing network of people. And I mean, even listening to podcasts, you'll hear other people just share their secrets. And it's just because people are so juiced about real estate that they just want to scream it from the rooftops, like everything they're doing. And honestly, when I first got started in it, I was a little skeptical, and I'm like, everyone can do it. You're making so much money and it's so great, like too good to be true. And now the more I've listened to and the more I've talked to people, I'm like, wow, there are people out there from all walks of life doing this. And really, if you just take action and put yourself out there and get into it, I mean, really anyone can do it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Really well said. I 100% agree. The only thing I'll say is that as you grow and take on more properties, there's always going to be hard lessons that you learn, but you can learn through others. And that's really, part of the mission of this podcast is to help other people, learn through our own mistakes. And so that's, that's something that I do appreciate about the podcast community, the real estate community. I 100% agree with you. The wrong kind of people, the people that say, no, I have, industry secrets or whatever, or buy my thing for $10, $20, $50,000, that's fine. There's a place for that. And that might help some people, but there's so many great people that just want to connect and share their story and help someone out. Because if you are the type of person that will, put the kids to bed and then get to work after a whole day of work and get to work on building your business, then, sky's the limit. So kudos to you. Congratulations. I hope that you'll come back for a follow-up on your next deal or as this one progresses and you get some more juicy stories for us. We would love to have you back on the show.
Yeah, let's do it.
Before we go, please take this chance to tell the audience where they can find out more about you.
Yeah. So anything under the Networth Nurse. So my website is thenetworthnurse.com. On Instagram, I'm the Networth Nurse, on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. But the best way is to hop over to my website. I have investor calls. You can schedule a call with me. I love connecting with people. You can sign up for our newsletter or just check out some of the resources that we have available there.
Perfect. Well, Savannah, thank you so much for coming on the show, and we'll see you soon.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to another episode. Check out our website at truemultifamily.show. And if you have an amazing story to tell, share it on our Facebook community, and you might just be the next guest on the show. We're also on all other social networks. Just search True Multifamily. I'm really proud to have the show produced by our company On Air Brands. Check us out at onairbrands.com. We also have an incredible, unique podcasting event that we would love for you to be a part of. Check that out at podmax.co.